Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this long ladies type of kind of oversized lacy jacket. It'd be good for the fall. This tutorial is just for how to sew. It's just for sewing the squares up and the cuffs and the collar. I have a different tutorial for the squares, which I'll post a link to that below in the video. I have a pattern written for the squares too. I'll post a link to that, but I do not have a pattern how to sew it together. Now this is probably not a beginner video because you have to know how to sew squares together really pretty good to do this video, because I don't go over it real well. I mean, you can use any method of sewing your squares together. I mean, I show you just a little bit, but mainly if you know how to sew squares together, though, you'll be able to do the cuffs and everything. That's real easy. So remember, this is just how to put it together, and the cuffs and the collar. This isn't the squares. I'll put a link to that below so you can make the squares. Okay, you're going to need 16 of the squares for the jacket. There's 6 in the back, 3 on each side in the front, and 2 for each sleeve. So 16 total. And for this project, I used the same thing that I showed in the square, how to make the square video. The Lion brand mandala yarn, which is a lightweight number 3. Now you don't have to use this brand, and you don't even have to use a lightweight number 3. A 4-ply will work, but it will make your jacket bigger than what mine is. Now mine is going to be good for its size, a large, extra large, and probably a 2X2. I don't have, because it's nice, big, and baggy. I don't have any other sizes available. You can always make the squares bigger if you need it for a bigger size. But remember, if you use a 4-ply, it's going to be bigger anyways than what mine is right now. There's 590 yards per skein, and it took me almost 5 skeins, so I would say about 2,800 yards. So you're going to need 5 skeins of this if you get this. You're not going to use all the 5 skeins, but you're going to need 5 skeins of it. If you use 4-ply, I have no idea how many yards it's going to take you. I honestly don't, because it's a lot different than the lightweight. I don't like using lightweight. I usually use 4-ply, but the color I used is Warlock. And of course, you can use any color that you want. And I also used the same size hook to sew it together. And for the cuffs, as I said in the square video, I used a which is a 5.5mm crochet hook. Okay, now this is how you want to sew it together. It does not have the sleeves on it yet. But what you want to do is, this is how I sewed it together. Whatever your method is for sewing granny squares together. I sewed 3 here, and 3 here together. And that is the back. Now these 3 here, and these 3 here are the sides of the front, that they're going to flap over to the front. So what you want to do, your back is one solid piece like this. Now the 3 on each side is the front, and what you want to do for that is walk over here. You don't want to sew the top one on to the top of the back one. What we're going to do with that is, when we flap it over, we'll sew the top of this one onto the top of this one, and this hole here will be the armhole, and that's where we'll put the sleeves. Well, that's where we'll sew the sleeves on, right here. But this is sewed to the side, and this one is sewed halfway down, just for decoration, so the jacket flaps. So what I did was, I counted in 22 stitches on each of these bottom pieces, and then I started slip stitching my piece together, and I did that on both sides. Now you don't have to do that. If you don't want to, you can sew it completely together, or you can just leave it completely open. I've seen them like that too, but that's what I did. I started here and counted up 22 stitches, and then I started slip stitching. So this is the way that you want it to be sewn together. And then what's going to happen, like I said, these 3 on each end are going to be the front, we turn it over. Let me get it turned over here. Okay, now this is the top here. And here's the front, these 3 pieces, and these flap over. And now what you want to do, in the same way that you've been sewing all the squares together, is sew the top up here. And then this is left open for the sleeves, which I'll show you how to do that later. They're done the same way, but I'll show you how to sew them on in a little bit. But you don't want to sew all the way across on the top. What you want to do is sew, I'm looking at it like this, you want to sew 30 stitches over. That way there's a little bit of a flap there. And then this one is not sewed yet. Count here, 30 stitches over, and then there'll be a flap here. That's 30 stitches, not counting any stitches that you put in the chain 2 space. We're counting these stitches right here, the ones that are visible. 30 stitches, and then you have the top sewed up and you have your sleeve hole. And you want to do the same thing over here on the opposite side. 30 stitches, counting these stitches, not counting the chain space. So count over 30 stitches on both pieces. And of course, remember, you sew them wrong side out, but 30 stitches, and then this will be flapped over halfway too. And right here, this will be where the shoulder is, where it's sewed up. And this is where we'll put the collar in a little bit, around this area here. Okay, I'm just going to show you really quick how I sew my squares together. You don't have to do it the same way I do it. You can use single crochet, you can use the yarn needle and piece of yarn. I'm going to slip stitch mine together. So I'm just going to show you quickly how I do that. So I put my opposite sides together, or both back sides facing me. And I just start like in the chain space of one, in the stitch of the chain space, and then the stitch of the chain space of the other. And then I will chain one. Now I'll go through the front loop only on this one piece, and then the back loop only on this piece, and I will slip stitch. And that's how I do mine. Front loop only on this piece, front loop only on this piece, or back loop only on that piece, I'm sorry, and slip stitch. Front loop on this piece, back loop on this piece, and slip stitch. And that's how I do mine all the way down. And by doing the front loop on this piece and the back loop on this piece, it's kind of creating a little ridge in the front. Now, you can go through both loops if you want. And like I said, you can use your yarn needle, whatever way you crochet your squares together is going to work. So as long as they get crocheted together, that's fine. So I'm going to continue this all the way down. I just wanted to show you real quick how I did mine. Now I'm going to show you how to sew on the sleeve. Now the sleeve needs to be 2 pieces sewn together like this on both sides. And you want to leave the wrong sides facing you at first, and then you get to go your sleeve hole and you put the wrong sides of those facing you too. So wrong side, sleeve is like a big, it's 2 squares sewed together there, and wrong sides are facing me. Now I'm going to put the seam kind of in the middle like this, the seam of the sleeve in the middle, and that's how I'm going to sew it together. And I'm just going to use slip stitch the same way that I sewed it together before. Let me get this all situated here. It's going to need to be like this. So the wrong sides are facing me. Here's the seam of the sleeve. I put it kind of in the middle of this square. That way the seam, I didn't want the seam to line up with the top top of the seam of the shoulder. And I just start by picking up a loop just anywhere in the middle of this the sleeve hole, front loop only, and then in the chain space, one of the chain spaces, chain one, and then I do front loop only here, and then the chain space of the next space, slip stitch, and now I'm just going to continue along, front loop here, back loop in the next stitch, slip stitch, front loop here, back loop in the next stitch, slip stitch. I'm going to do this all the way around until my sleeve is sewed on, and then I'll pull it right side out, and the seam will be on the inside. Okay, now we're going to start on the cuff of the sleeve. So you got your work turned right side out, your sleeve sewed on. Now both sleeves are going to be worked the exact same. So I'll just show you this one. So I'm going to start, you see in either one of these chain 2 spaces, I'm going to start in a couple stitches behind it. Doesn't really have to be exact, just somewhere right around that area. And I'm going to start my yarn, and I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to work 1 single crochet back into that same stitch. And I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get up to the first chain 2 space. So for me it was just 1 because I started right there. Now what I'm going to do is single crochet these two chain 2 spaces together. So I'm going to go into that first chain 2 space and drop a loop. Then I'm going to go into the next one and drop a loop. And then I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops. Now I'm going to continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get over here to my next set of chain 2 spaces. So remember to get this first stitch here. You see counts as a stitch. So 1 single crochet every stitch until you get to your next set of chain 2 spaces. Okay, I've made it to my other side where I have my next chain 2 spaces, and I'm going to single crochet those together also. So I'm just going to go straight into the space and drop a loop, and then jump over and go straight into the next space and drop a loop and yarn over and go through all 3 loops like that. Now starting with this very first stitch here, I'm going to continue single crocheting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get back to my starting point. And when you get back to your starting point, you should have 90 stitches all the way around. That's counting those decreases there. So you should have a total of 90. Okay, when you make it back around to the beginning and you count it and you have your 90 stitches, go ahead and slip stitch into your first single crochet. Not that chain 1, but the first single crochet. Now we're going to do a row of decreases. What we're going to do is 3 single crochets in a row, and then we're going to do a single crochet decrease. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go right back into that same stitch, and that's going to be my first single crochet. And I want to have 3 in a row. So that's 1, go to my next stitch, 2, my next stitch, 3, and then the decrease. That's where I go into the next stitch and drop a loop, and then the next one, drop a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. That took 2 stitches and made it into 1. Now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So go in the next, drop a loop, go into the next one, drop a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. Again, 3 in a row, 1, 2, 3, and then a single crochet decrease over the next 2. Now we're just going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to the beginning. 3 single crochets in a row, and then a single crochet decrease. Okay, when you make it back around, you should end in a decrease. So after you finish, I did 3 single crochets in a row, and I have 2 stitches left to decrease over. And then you want to end with the slip stitch in your first single crochet, not that chain 1. And now you should have 72 stitches all the way around. Okay, now we're going to do a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. And now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch all the way around. 1 double all the way around back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, we're not decreasing or anything anymore. 1 double in every stitch. And when you get back around, you still should have 72 stitches, counting that beginning chain 3. Okay, I've made it all the way around with that row of double crochet, and now you want to end with a slip stitch into your beginning chain 3. Now here's where we start to do the ribbing. Now I made these cuffs to where, I'll show you one right now, they're meant to fold up like this. So you can see that there's 2 rows of ribbing like that. Now if I was to uncuff them, the beginning would only have 1 because of that chain 3. So here is the important part. If you want them to, you don't have to make them cuff like I do, but I made mine to cuff, so I made it where this chain 3, when I cuffed, would not be visible. It would be just 2 sections of 2 all the way around. So here's the part. I'll show you where. Now if you don't want them to cuff, do not turn your work here. If you want to make them cuff like mine, you chain 3 and you turn your work, and this is the only time that you turn your work on your sleeve. This makes it, you're working backwards now, so when you cuff it, the right side will be facing you. Now if I did not turn, the right side would be facing me, and you wouldn't want to cuff it because the right side of the stitches would be facing you. So if you want to make them where they don't cuff, do not turn at this point. But I'm cuffing mine, so I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. And that's the only time I'm going to turn, is right here. From now on, it's just going to be working in rounds. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a back post double crochet in this first stitch here. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, and I'm going to go work a double crochet, but I'm going to work it around the post of the stitch like that. You can see the post on the back of my hook, and then I just do my regular double crochet. And now I'm going to do front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go around the front of the post like that, and then do my double crochet. And then the next one is the front post again. So I yarn over and I go around the front of the post like that, and then I do my double crochet. Now I'm going to do 2 back post double crochets in a row. So I'm going to yarn over, go at it from the behind like that, so your stitches, the post is on the behind your hook, and then do your double crochet. And again, another back post, so from behind the stitch, just like that. And now 2 front posts again. There's 2 front posts, and now 2 back posts. And then 2 front posts again. And I'm just going to keep repeating this. 2 front posts, 2 back posts, 2 front posts, 2 back posts, all the way around until I get back to my starting point. And when I get back around, I still should have my 72 stitches, counting that chain 3. I should always have my 72 stitches. So that's what it starts to look like. Okay, I'm coming back around to the beginning, and you should end where there are 2 front post double crochets left. 2 stitches left of front post double crochet, like that. And then we're going to end with a slip stitch into our beginning chain 3. And now we're just going to repeat that row. We're not going to turn anymore. That was the only time we turned. And if you're making it to where you don't cuff it, you never turn at all. So this, we're going to chain 3 again. This chain 3 is acting as a back post double crochet. That's what it's doing. And we're just going to repeat. So we're going to do back post double crochet right here around this back post. So if that chain 3 is counting as a back post, and we just did another one, that was 2 back post double crochets. And now we're going to do 2 front post double crochets right around the post of these stitches. And the more rows you do, the more you'll be able to see the post better. But all you're doing is keeping the post lined up. And then 2 back post double crochets. So we're just repeating that last row. And then 2 front post double crochets. And when you get back around, you still should be keeping your 72 stitches. Now, you can make your cuff for as long as you want. I'm doing mine for a total of 18 rows of these post stitches. I'm sorry, 18 total. So, of the posts. But you can do yours longer if you want. So I'm just going to keep repeating this row till I get my cuff as long as I want it to be. Now I did a total of 18 rows of the post stitches for mine, but you can do it longer or shorter. You know, it's up to you, whatever you want. But like I said, I made mine to my cuff to fold, so I made mine a little longer. Here's what it looks like. And then I made mine to flip. So that's what it looks like without it. But you can do it however you want. But I'm going to go ahead and finish my 18 rounds on this cuff. And then I'll meet back up with you when I get finished with this. Okay, once you get your cuff as long as you want it to be, like I said, I did the 18 rows on mine. I'm going to just do 1 row of single crochet around the top to finish it, maybe, if I can find my yarn here. So I just ended with a slip stitch in my beginning chain 3. So now what I'm going to do is chain 1 and go back right into that same stitch and single crochet. And now I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. I'm going right into the top of the stitch. I'm not working any posts or anything. Just to put an edge on this row and make it look clean. Just like that. So I'm going to do this until I get back around to the beginning. Okay, once you make it all the way around that row of single crochet, go ahead and end it with the slip stitch in your first single crochet. And then you can tie that off. And I'm going to go ahead and hide that tail real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to start up here in the neck area here for the collar. Okay, and you can see here is where it's sewn together. And here's kind of my little flap over. And the same, here's my flap over on this. Okay, I'm going to start my yarn right here in this chain space and what I'm going to do, start my yarn and do a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Then I'm going to go back into that same space and I'm going to work another double crochet. So that was 2 double crochets in that chain space. Now I'm going to work 1 double crochet across until I get over here to where we sewed it. And there should be 14, I believe, across, but really stitch count really isn't important on this part, so if you don't get it exactly the same numbers as me, don't worry about it. But I'm just going to work 1 double crochet all the way across here. I've been crocheting on this for so long, my hands are starting to slip. Okay, now when you get over here, I'm dropping my stitches because my fingers aren't working that well. Okay, when you get over here to the seam, you're going to see where it's sewed up, kind of, right here. You want to do a stitch in each area that's been sewed. So, like, you can tell there's my sew right there, so I need to do a stitch right, or a double crochet right there. And then over here in this stitch here, I'll do a double crochet. In those 2 stitches where it's sewed, where they've been worked, go ahead and do a double crochet in each of them. And then I'm going to continue working 1 double crochet in every stitch until I get over here to the middle here where these 2 chain spaces are, and I'll meet you right here. Okay, I've made it over here to where these 2 spaces are. This is like the back of the jacket. So what I'm going to do now is pull my yarn up here. I'm going to work 2 double crochets in this first chain space. This is 1, 2. Now I'm going to go down and I'm going to grab a stitch from this seam. So like this first little stitch right here, this, I'm just going to go right through it. It's just 1 loop, and I'm going to do a double crochet. And I'm going to do the same on this side. So this 1 loop right here, the very first loop of this stitch right here, I'm going to go through it, just 1 loop, and do a double crochet like that. And now I'm going to work 2 double crochets into this next chain 2 space, like that. So that's what it kind of looks like. And now I'm going to continue working on 1 double crochet in every stitch across until I get to this seam over here. Don't forget this guy right here, sometimes he gets hidden behind them double crochets. But just go ahead and continue to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to the next seam, and that's where I'll meet you at. Okay, I've made it to my next seam over here, and I'm going to do the same thing I did over there. I'm going to grab the stitch that's been worked already that we sewed, do a double crochet into that one, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So you can see there's my stitch. So this stitch has been worked. I'm going to go ahead and double crochet in that, and then I'm going to continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch here until I get to the end, until I get over here to the end. Okay, when you make it over here to this last chain space, go ahead and put 2 double crochets in it, like that. Now, like I said, stitch count isn't important on this part, and I'm not even going to count mine, so I'm going to go ahead and do a chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and then I'm going to turn my work. Now I'm going to go across again. Now it's just rows of 1 double crochet in every stitch. So we don't go in this very first stitch here. We're going to start in the next one and double crochet. And I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch across now until I get to the end of the row. And I'm just going to keep doing rows of double crochet. You might want to count your stitches because you want to make sure you have the same number of stitches at the end of every row. But other than that, the stitch count doesn't matter. Just make sure you have the same number at the end of every row. So I'm just going to keep doing back and forth rows of double crochet. When I get to the end of this row, I'm just going to chain 3 and turn and start again, working 1 double crochet in every stitch. Okay, I got my collar made, and I went ahead and did 9 rows on my collar. Now you can do more or less if you want. That's completely up to you. If you want to make it a hood, you can just continue making it as tall as you need it to be to fit over your head, and then you just put the corners together like this and slip stitch the top together, and that'll make a hood. So collars and hoods are made pretty much the same way. Okay, now I'm going to go around with a row of single crochet around the collar. So here, I lay out my collar here. It's folded upright. I'm going to start over here where the back side of my work is facing me, and I'm going to start in this chain space. That way when the collar lays flat, the good side of the stitches will be facing us. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to put 1 single crochet in that chain space. And now I'm going to neatly space out my single crochets all the way up the side of the collar. And you kind of can't really tell where they go, but what I usually do is kind of just do 1 single crochet or 2 single crochets to every double crochet. That's kind of just how I do it, and it doesn't have to be exact. Just kind of get them as evenly spaced as possible up the side of the collar. I kind of just go through the stitch there, and this is just going to clean up the edge of the collar a bit, like that. So I'm going to continue doing that until I get up here to the corner. Okay, when you make it up here to the corner, I'm going to go ahead and put 3 single crochets into that corner to make it kind of lay more flat, like that. And now I'm going to continue along the top here, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to the other corner. Okay, when I make it to the other corner here on the other side, I'm going to put 3 single crochets in that one, and then I'm just going to work my way down the side, other side of the collar, evenly spacing out my single crochets, just like I did before on the other side. Just like that. So I'm going to continue doing that until I get over here to the end of the collar. Okay, when you made it down the other side and you're over here at this chain 2 space, go ahead and put 1 single crochet into that chain 2 space, and then a slip stitch into that chain 2 space, and then you can tie that off. And now I'm going to work 1 single crochet around the whole piece, but that's the collar. It's all cleaned up now. All the edges are. Give them a little bit of a stretch. Okay. So I'm going to turn my piece completely around. This. So there's my collar still flipped up here. Now I'm on the opposite side of it. Now I'm going to start over here. You just want to make sure the right side of your work is facing you now. And right here where we started the collar before, I'm going to start in that first single crochet. And I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to put 1. I'm not going to put any single crochets in the chain space. I'm just going to jump over here to this first single crochet and single crochet in it. And then I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way down the side of my jacket. Just cleaning up these edges, or until I get all the way down, until I get right here to where these two squares meet, these two chain spaces, and I'll meet you right here. So 1 single crochet all the way down over here to these chain 2 spaces. Okay, I've made it here to these 2 chain 2 spaces. What I'm going to do is put 2 single crochets in each of the chain 2 spaces. There's 2 in that one, and jump over to the next one, put 2 in that one, and then I'm going to start again putting 1 single crochet in every stitch up this side. Don't forget this first single crochet. Sometimes, or this first stitch here, sometimes he hides underneath those single crochets. But now I'm going to continue up, down, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. Until I get to my next 2 chain 2 spaces where my squares are sewed together. Okay, I've made it to my next 2 chain 2 spaces, and again I'm just going to put 2 single crochets in the first one, and then 2 single crochets in the next one, and then I'm going to start again going down, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch till I get down here to the bottom corner. And remember not to forget this stitch here. He hides all the time. Okay, I've made it to the bottom square, and here's this chain 2 space. What I'm going to do is work 4 single crochets in that chain 2 space. Like that. And now I'm going to start working along the bottom of the jacket. Don't forget this very first stitch here. Doing the same thing, just working 1 single crochet in every stitch. Just cleaning up all these edges. Until I get over here to my next chain 2 space. Okay, I've made it to my next chain 2 space, and I'm along the bottom, and here is the split that we put in the bottom, but this is the top corner, bottom corner of it. So we're going to put 4 single crochets in this to match the other corner that we just made. And then now we're working, turn my piece, in the split of the bottom that we left, and you can see it right here. So go ahead and start working 1 single crochet up this inside of the split here, and then when we get to this, when I get to this split, I'll meet you right there. Okay, I'm coming up to the split, and you can see where they've been sewed together. I'm going to single crochet decrease where they've been sewed together. So I'm going to grab this stitch, first stitch here that you can see that it's been worked, that I sewed it, and I'm going to draw up a loop, and then I'm going to go to the next stitch on this side that you can see there's my stitch that I've sewed. Grab that stitch and draw up a loop, and I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops just like that. And now I'm just going to continue working 1 single crochet in every stitch up the other side of the split. until I get to this corner over here. Okay, I've made it to my next corner, and we're still working on the bottom of the jacket. And I'm going to put 4 single crochets in this corner. Like that. And then I'm going to continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch up this side until I get, now we're working, we got this, let me stop here for a minute, show you. We got this split done. It's finished, and you can see the split. Now I'm working across what is the back of the jacket, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And over here, I'll meet you right here where these two connect. This is the back of the jacket. Over here is the other split. We're not there yet, but I'm gonna continue working across until I meet you on the back of the jacket here. These next 2 chain 2 spaces. Okay, I'm still on the bottom, and here's where these back 2 pieces meet, where we sewed them up. So we're just going to put 2 single crochets in each of those chain 2 spaces, like that. And then I'm going to continue along, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get over here to where my next split starts. So right over here at this corner. Okay, I made it to the corner. 4 single crochets in the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going up the side of the next split in the bottom of the jacket. 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get to that seam where the split is, and I'll meet you there. Here's the seam of my next split, and again I'm going to grab the work stitch from this side and the work stitch from this side, and I'm going to single crochet them together, decrease them together. So I'm going to go into that first stitch, drop a loop, and come over here to this one. You can see it's been stitched up. Go into that one, drop a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. And now I'm going to continue working down the other side of the split, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my next corner. Okay, I've made it to my next corner, and this was the end of the other split. Here it is. Here's where we're at. We're done, did the split. Now we're at the corner here, and we're going to do 4 single crochets in that corner. One single crochet in every stitch until I get to all the way across here, till I get to my next corner here, and then we'll start up the side again. Okay, I've made it to my next corner. 4 single crochets through that corner. And now we're just going to continue working up the opposite side. So now we've completed the bottom, we've completed one side. Now we're working up the opposite side. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did on the other side. 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to these chain 2 spaces here. 2 single crochets in each of those spaces. 1 single crochet in every stitch. 2 single crochets in each of these 2 chain 2 spaces. 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get up here to where I started the collar, until I get up here to the collar area. Okay, I've made it all the way back around to where my collar starts, and I am just going to end with a slip stitch into the first single crochet here that we made for the collar. So I'm just going to slip stitch right into that, and then I'm going to tie this off. And now I'm going to take a moment to hide all my tails real quick. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera. Okay, that's it. Once you get done hiding all your tails, you are finished. That's all there is to it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to come and check me out on Facebook. If you make this, I'd really like to see a picture of it, or anything else. You can always post a picture there. And don't forget to check me out on Instagram too. I'll put links to all that stuff below in the description box. And until next time, have a good day.